Hey everybody, welcome to summer session for English 112. I am your instructor. I'm Susan Austin. I teach at JCC full-time and I've been there for quite a while. I believe going on 20 years. I teach English 111, 112, and then sometimes I teach a literature. So one of my favorite classes to teach is English 112. I love research. I love helping students embrace research and get better at it. And I love writing and all things academic. I'm sort of a nerd that way. So this video is just to give you sort of an overview of the class and a tour of the class. I'll try not to be too long-winded, but I do have a lot to cover, so I'm going to take you through some areas of the class, and hopefully this will help you, so I'm going to adjust it just a little bit. So first of all, I wanted to show you some of the navigation things for the class. Some of you are familiar with Blackboard and some of you may not be as familiar. So every Monday I will issue kind of an announcement, and then throughout the week I may also post some other announcements, but the Monday announcement is where I usually explain the assignments for the week and post some things to help you navigate those assignments for the week. Some instructors post everything all at one time and let students work independently. I don't do that. One of the reasons I don't, especially for 112, is all of the assignments are layered into each other. So I don't want a handful of students working ahead and not really spending the quality amount of time they need to spend on the assignments. I know it's summer. I know you may have some sort of work schedule or plans. I know with this sort of unknown of the pandemic or unknown of the quarantine at home type of status, everybody's sort of on a different schedule than they might be in a normal summer, but none of that matters. You've signed up for a summer school class and we run it despite any personal things that you may be having. The beauty of an online class is that you get to decide when you do assignments and if you stay up late or get up early in the morning or work it into your schedule, however works best for you. But I don't allow you to work ahead, and I don't let you pause the course for a week because you have plans or your schedule changes. Okay, so the announcements, already I've given you an announcement, one or two, I can't remember, two at this point, but this is how I communicate with you. So I always tell online students to check it once a day. We're all accustomed to social media checks and checking into Snapchat and TikTok, and some of us check Facebook and Instagram, or text messages even. You need to communicate with your online courses, and the easiest way is to check in daily. I would also suggest that you check your email daily. The campus will send you alerts and messages and information. Also, I tend to link an email to the announcements so that when I post an announcement, it goes directly to your email as well. So if you're checking it daily, you shouldn't miss out on too much. So that's the first and foremost, I would say, the most important thing to check. You should have already taken your enrollment verification quiz. I tend to start off all my online classes with that and sort of hold off on assignments during the first week just so that students do that. I have to turn in a report to the registrar's office to show them who is attending, and this is how we track it. So if you have not taken the enrollment verification quiz, I believe the last day to take it is the 22nd, but honestly I like to have my students in place. I like to get my record keeping going properly at the beginning of the semester, and I want to know who's attending and who's not, and that's how we track that. So you may have checked into the course and not taken that quiz, and you're going to show up as not attending. So just please make sure you take that quiz. It doesn't count as a grade, and we don't track it for the questions you get right necessarily, but just that you take it. It's a record-keeping quiz, and it places you in the online environment properly, and that's what we use. So please make sure you take that. Next, I have the syllabus posted. And I know that JCC has a standard syllabus, so if you're taking a couple of classes or you're a standard JCC student, you may have seen a lot of syllabi that look the same. We do keep them standardized in the sense of how they're arranged, but each instructor gives their own kind of rules of the road in their syllabus, and we expect that you read it. It is a binding contract between the two of us. If I decide to change a policy, I can email it to everyone or post it in an announcement. The only thing I can't change is the grading policies. So I work on a 60-40 split. The major assignments are 60% and the general assignments are 40%. So I try to keep it fairly simple. Any participatory things that you do would be in the general category, and all of the major assignments, which in this class we will be doing in an annotated bibliography, a rhetorical analysis, and a presentation. I think are the three that we do in the summer. We have to take a few out for the summer just to give the quality and attention to the ones that are the really major high stakes assignments for the class. And then you'll have some lead-in assignments, some peer reviews, some tests, quizzes. Those are all general requirements. You can't really see it here because you're seeing my view, but in your view, you should see a mark reviewed button around here, sort of at the bottom of that syllabus section. Once you've read the syllabus, if you have a printer at home, go ahead and print it out. You can stick it in a folder for the class. But once you've read it, understand it, don't have any questions, then do the mark reviewed. The other way I have you acknowledge the syllabus is in the introduction quiz, which is now posted. There's a question in there that you state that you have acknowledged the syllabus, and of course that introductory quiz has a lot of syllabus type questions on it. This video will also serve as help with that quiz, and I try to insert some information to help you get some of those answers right. So stick with it till the end. I've also pulled out some general policies and things here for quick reference, but this does not replace the actual syllabus, so make sure you look at that. I also have a section here just about me, how to get in touch with me, who I am, what I'm about, a little bit of personal information. I'm not going to be on campus this summer. Our campus is still working on a very limited basis as far as people being on campus if they don't have to be because of the pandemic and the governor's orders to kind of try to stay at home. I am going to start a remind code for the Remind app. That is optional if you want to use it. A lot of students like it because they can send me a quick request or a quick question and I can answer it quickly because it'll come straight to my phone. I'll try to post that before the end of the week. I didn't feel like you needed it right away at the beginning, but that's another way that you can get in touch with me. If you would like to have an appointment with me, I'll be glad to do a Zoom session with you, a Skype session, or a phone call. I don't mind doing that at all, and I enjoy getting to know my students and communicating with them. Another thing I would like to do, because it was so successful in the spring, is offer at least one Zoom session a week. And then you can sort of drop in, ask questions. We can go over some things on my screen. I can share my screen with you. And I found that students really appreciated that and enjoyed it in the spring. And we, of course, did it because it was face-to-face classes that went online. But I thought, why not include that in the online classes as well? So I did put a request out for you to go into the Conversation Cafe in the discussion board to maybe offer up some times that may work for you. I would really hate to offer a Zoom session that nobody can attend. I know in the spring I would do like a 5 o'clock session and then a morning session, and then students could sort of pick and choose when it was convenient to attend. And then the other thing I did in the spring is I combined 2 classes and invited both of them. They were both 112 classes, so I would probably do that again. I'm teaching 2 this summer. So, the next thing is the weekly assignments, and that's just as important as the announcements each week. As you can see, I just have one available, and that's because I only make one available per week. And then I don't erase or get rid of the previous weeks. I just don't open up weeks ahead of time. I want you to work on the week that I'm making assignments, and then come Monday you'll get more. Occasionally there may be some crossover. So this week, because I'm posting this video a little late, I had some family things I had to take care of, and I was out of town at my family home at the beach to help my dad with some of the things, and so this got posted later. But I made one of the quizzes due on Monday. So sometimes it will overlap into the following week, like on a Monday. And I honestly do that just as sort of a favor or a grace to you if I feel like the work can extend an extra day and it gives you an extra day to finish it. But understand if I do that, then on Monday you're getting the next week's work, and so I am extending some grace sometimes with an extra day on the week, but you would have the new week to also see for to catch up with. So I hope that works for everybody. I try to be as fair as possible. All you do is you click into the week, and you'll see like a little line, and you can just click in there. I always start with an explanation. I try to think of all the things that you need to know. It's a lot of words to read. When I used to be a student online for my grad school work, I would always print this out. If you have a printer, then I would sort of check it off as I go. I've also kept a calendar as a student, and then as I do the items on the calendar, I kind of highlight those or cross through them. I do share this course with some other instructors, and we sort of share some documents and some assignments. So if you know someone in another class, you may see some similarities if you're studying together, but I also make changes along the way, or my coworkers also, we sort of share and collaborate, but it may not be the exact same. So make sure if you do know someone in another class, a friend, that you're not just relying on what that class shows, because it may look a little similar, but we do make some changes. So anyway, I try to put the deadlines in bold for you, but that's just a courtesy, and it's not a requirement of me. But I had a student a couple of years ago say, well, I didn't get it done because you didn't highlight the date. But I tried to go through and find the dates and highlight them for you. But again, it's your responsibility to see the deadlines. But I do explain everything at the top of the folder for the week. And then you'll start to see the different parts of that week. Sometimes I link you to things. Sometimes I'll have a folder of handouts in there. Sometimes I'll have videos embedded. And so here you see the preliminary research video that I've already posted. Watch it, but please understand that I recorded it in the spring semester before the pandemic happened. And so I do reference going to a store, which these days seems a little foreign. Maybe that will change in the coming weeks. I also have a list of topics to avoid, topics that I really don't like students to research because I think they're cliche or overdone, or they really don't coincide with the things I'm asking you to do for this class with a career-related topic. And then I have 2 quizzes. The introductory quiz is due by Sunday this week, and then I did push the reading quiz to Monday to give you an extra day if it would help you get that done. It is a longer quiz, and so I thought I'd give you a little bit of extra time to get that done. But always go through here, and I do my best to link as much as I can for you in here so that you can be successful. I did do the majority of my grad school work online through East Carolina University. I did take some in person, but a lot online, and I try to think of what helped me as an online student back in the day. My husband presently is doing his MBA program online, and I talk to him a lot, help him review his papers, and he sort of tells me what he likes to see and what gets on his nerves. I'm not perfect. I'm a human just like you are, but I try my best to give you as much as I can of myself, and I try to be available as much as I can. If you ever have questions, you're welcome to ask them. I do have a 3 before me policy. A lot of us have tried to implement this policy. We found that a lot of students will just reach out to their instructor first without ever reading the assignment or without ever really searching for the answer themselves when it's right there in the course. So we'll go over that in a second. But I do want to be here for you. I just I can't hold everybody's hand just because I have probably this summer about 75 students in 8 weeks. So I do hope that you depend on your own resources as well as you look for answers. But I am a resource as well in addition to the other ones you have. Okay. So that's the weekly assignments. I always try to put the dates on them, what week it is, and I try to link you to as much as I can. Discussion boards for online classes have become a little cliche. I know that some students who have done online classes get a little burnt out with them. I try to think about that when I post the prompts and when I ask you to do certain things. We may not do a discussion board every week. We may skip a week here and there. But for this week, you're doing the introductions. I tried to respond to all the introductions, but then as we proceed with other discussion boards, I don't always respond to every student. So if I don't respond to you, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to be part of the conversation and not take over the conversation. So instructors really probably shouldn't be deeply embedded in the students' conversations. We want you to carry some of that responsibility. But for the introductions, I do try to respond to each and every one of you because I want to get to know you better. And so I can see that I've got a lot to do here because there are quite a few there. So I'll start working on those in the coming days. I've also opened up a course question, a conversation cafe. This is something that will be second at all times in the discussion board. And this is a place that I encourage you all to utilize. You can go and post a question. I'll try to check into it, but I always expect you guys to check in as well and help each other. We want to form a learning community in this class, even though it's online. And I hope if you guys attend some Zoom sessions, you'll get to know each other better. And then in here, there's a 3 Before Me handout, so I'm going to open that up. I did this handout actually and shared it. And so a couple of us are using it now. And hopefully it'll come up in a second. Sometimes internet is fast and sometimes internet is a little slow, so I don't know. Hopefully it's going to open. Processing. So thank you for your patience. There we go. All right, so I tried to make it colorful so that you didn't mind reading it too much. What 3 Before Me means is before you ask a question, and I would say utilize this in your regular life, your work life, your home life. How many of you have had a husband or a kid standing in the middle of the living room or the kitchen saying, "Where is it?" And you know they haven't looked for it at all. And that's frustrating because you're like, why do I know where everything is and nobody else does? So 3 Before Me just means that you use the resources and yourself before you ask someone else to do the work for you. So the first part of 3 Before Me would be to focus and concentrate harder. Think about, hey, have I seen a handout? Did the instructor give me a note about that? Were there instructions that maybe I overlooked or missed? Have you thought it through completely before you ask the question? So you always want to reflect on the question, reflect on your own knowledge about how things usually are in that situation. Consider information that you've gathered from the course lectures or the handouts. I usually probably overload you with handouts. I don't expect you to read them all, but they're there as a resource. So you can always use those as a guide if you do have a question. I also supply you with a lot of student samples. Probably usually about 4 to 8 per assignment, and I always try to add to those as I go with each semester. I have new ones. And so it's a good idea to utilize those resources that I've given you, and that's true for any class you're in. The second part of 3 Before Me, the second thing you can do would be use your resources. I have a whole resources tab in the discussion board, and you can certainly look through that to see if there's a department at JCC that you can link into. When we start talking about scholarly research, one of the things the library has is a chat feature. It's open pretty much 24/7. I think they may shut down a little bit on Sunday night for just I guess, maintenance on the system. But there is a librarian from the state of North Carolina supposedly available to you 24/7 on that chat feature. So if you're ever working on research and you just have a quick question, you can ask them to help you. And we also have Nathan Stansel. He is our JCC librarian liaison. And I think he's going to host some Zoom sessions this summer. And he's also available through email to help you with assignments, and that's part of his job is to help us. So you could always email him and get some questions answered by using those resources. And I have a little section on here, just different resources you can use. We have JOLT, which is the distance education department for JCC. So if you had a problem with Blackboard, maybe don't ask me, but maybe ask the JOLT department, because they're the ones who really know, and sometimes that's who I would go to anyway if there was a question. And so take me as the middleman out, and you can go ahead and ask them. They have a section on the homepage for the JCC website, and you can certainly link into them. We have student services, academic skills. I know in the spring, academic skills had some tutoring available, and then we also have an online tutoring called Smart Thinking. And so if you use Smart Thinking, they have tutors that are just regular tutors, and then they have writing tutors that will go over your assignments and then return them with notes. And then they also have just some automated things, handouts and links to things that will help you with assignments. The third step is to seek out help from your peers. That may not necessarily be someone from another class, but it could be someone from this class. It could be someone who's already taken English 112, but the only problem I can see with that is if it was a different instructor, there may have been different standards for the class or different expectations. But I'm hoping that some of you will form good learning community practices and reach out to some of your classmates. I'll show you before the video's out how to see all the emails to all the students in the class. You can also go back to the introductions and see who's in your class and maybe what their interests are. If you share anything, maybe form kind of a group that way. I know I've had students in seated classes, they exchange phone numbers if they feel comfortable, or they, they'll text each other back and forth. So use the conversation cafe and ask a question there. So always think about what you already know. Always use your resources, and then utilize your peers in the class, not just your instructor. Sometimes instructors get overloaded with questions because everybody's bombarding the questions to the instructor when they may have been able to solve the problem themselves. So going back, this is sort of called your navigation menu. Sometimes you'll just hear or see me, I'll type it out as the left side menu, and this is how you can click into everything. I've put in the required textbooks. I'm just going to pull those up really quickly. And it's the Norton Field Guide and the Little Seagull. This is a handbook. I don't make a lot of assignments out of this handbook, but this is what I expect you to use for the APA formatting. I will tell you that the lovely APA, as they sometimes do, these are a group of scientists who don't always think about writing the way an English person would think about writing. They made some changes, and they went to a 7th edition for the APA guidelines, and then the Little Seagull has not quite caught up with that. So I'm going to be posting before next week a link that Norton has supplied to us with the updates for the APA. For the 7th edition. They were not able to reprint all of the handbooks. Plus, we were worried because at JCC, we use 111, 112, the same textbooks, so we didn't want to get somebody caught in between. So I believe they're going to supply that link to us for the summer and the fall, and then by spring they'll have a new handbook printed with the updates. But the Little Seagull has grammar, punctuation, mechanics, style, and that formatting for APA. So I expect you to look it up. Don't just guess, because then when I grade it, you're going to probably get it wrong. And in the Norton Field Guide, you do have reading assignments in there. In both of these books, there are student samples, formatting guidelines, all sorts of help. So I'm not really a hand holder with teaching. I give you a lot of resources, and I expect you to be a college student where you can look things up. So please utilize your textbooks to look things up and to investigate without me telling you to do it. I will give you reading assignments, but there are loads of other sets of information in these 2 textbooks that will help you with assignments, so utilize them. I have linked you to some ebooks. Once you use the code that comes in the book, I believe it'll link you to the ebooks, but that's just sort of a thing that Norton does. Once you buy the book, you can link into the ebooks. Here's the resources tab, and sometimes I add to this throughout the semester. I'll think of something that I haven't put in there, so I would say check into that often, because I may think of something to add to it. I've got you linked here to the Purdue Online Writing Lab. Purdue University, they have a whole staff dedicated to nothing but writing, formatting, all the things dealing with writing. And it's sort of an online handbook. It's updated often, and they would have the updated 7th edition there as well. So as you're citing and formatting papers, I would check in with the Purdue lab. I've also linked you here to Smart Thinking. This is something that JCC purchases hours for you. I believe every student gets about 8 hours a semester, and you can send in papers to be reviewed. And like I said, you can also get other tutoring services. So I would suggest maybe exploring that a little bit and utilizing it. I think it's an underutilized resource, and students really should use it more. We also have a how to use Smart Thinking in here in case you're not quite sure how to tap into it. My colleague Tara Thompson has a video. I usually do my own videos, but I kept her video in here because she does an overview of the library resources, and I thought that it was a good video, so I kept it in. I've also included the JCC Career Services Center. If you're looking for a job, they're all working. They may be working at home and not physically on campus right now, but you can reach out to them, and they are answering emails and returning phone calls. So they can help you with resumes, interview skills, all the things that you may need to get a job. Here's some resources from our library about narrowing a topic, which is something you're going to be doing this semester. And just some basic tips on how to be an effective researcher for scholarly endeavors. And then there's the Purdue. I love Purdue so much I put it in here twice. Okay, the next thing is course navigation. This sort of, oh shoot, it's not there. I'm going to have to add it in there. And I apologize. The course navigation guide, and what I'm going to do is it's in my other class, so I'll just copy it over. But let's just go over to this class for now just to see the course navigation. And I'm sorry I didn't copy that over. I just kind of got caught in the middle there. So there we go. So it'll be in both classes. But faculty information, announcements, syllabus, kind of comments about the course. And I think it's a good idea to just read through it. One of the big things that I would say pay attention to is the discussion board. I've sort of mapped out how I grade the discussion boards, and I do grade my discussion boards. It counts as your attendance, and it counts as a grade. I do a 60-40 split there as well. Your initial post is worth 60 points, and then I've sort of broken down how it's graded. And then each of your responses to your peers in the classroom and the course, those are worth 20 points. So that would be worth 40 altogether. And this just sort of explains the resources, the three before me again. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is huge. A lot of people don't understand it, but in a nutshell, it's stealing. So just like you wouldn't go steal money out of someone's wallet, or you wouldn't steal someone's clothes and wear them and call them your own, or you wouldn't take someone's car and drive it around and say you owned it. Ideas are property, they're intellectual property, and when you do research, you have to give credit to the person who wrote the information originally and who did the original research. Anything that is not common knowledge has to be cited, and it has to have a source connection to it. As we get closer to those types of assignments, I will be posting videos on that, but you have to cite anything that is not common knowledge. So a quick way to look at that is everyone knows George Washington is the first president of the United States, but if you were writing about in a history class about a battle that he led or a policy that he put into the government, that wouldn't be necessarily common knowledge, so you would have to cite the source where you found that. And you have to do in-text citations in the actual paper, and you have to do the citation at the end of the document. Hopefully you learned this in English 111, but we will sort of review it a little bit in this class as well. And then here's some just kind of things you should know. Gradebook attendance. Quickly, gradebook is going to be already calculated. You should see your grade live in the gradebook, but don't freak out if it changes by a point or two here or there, because as I grade things, I'm not a math person, but somehow it'll shift slightly, and then with the next assignment, if it has a bigger weight, it'll sort of justify some of that shift of 1 or 2 points. So don't freak out too much about that. If you see a strange discrepancy going on, like a 0, but you turned the assignment in, obviously contact me about that. But everything is already weighted when you do it, and you should see the live grade as you do the assignments. Attendance, I take attendance through discussion boards and through checking into the class and through doing the assignments. If you ghost the class and I don't see you for a week, you're not attending. You can only miss the equivalent of 2 weeks in a regular semester, which would only be 1 week in a regular class. I try to be as fair as I can with the attendance, but you have to realize I have to report to the registrar's office, and we are audited by several agencies. We have to be accredited. We are audited by state agencies, and we're audited by our internal registrar's office. So I have to keep up with if you're in the class or not. I am an instructor who gives the courtesy of emails to my students who are not attending, and I try to have some communication with you about that in case something is going on that I should know about or something I can help you with. But I also ask that you communicate with me if there's a reason why you're not attending class. Safe Assign, we do that for every assignment, and that tests for plagiarism. So if you do plagiarize, it's going to be caught. I do review those reports if the percentage is high, to just make sure that you didn't take the information from a source without citing it. I will tell you not to freak out too much about percentages, because you can cite correctly and it'll still show up the high percentage, but if the student has cited it correctly, then it's not plagiarism. When you upload a document, please be careful and use Microsoft Word. I do have this in my syllabus. Blackboard is a little bit picky about what format it will take. So if you have a Chromebook, please be careful, because sometimes it does not like Chromebooks. There are tricks to getting it to load properly. Most of the time Blackboard will take a PDF formatted document, but I always ask for a Microsoft Word DOX documents, and I've had some students post both a PDF and a DOCX document just to make sure that it comes through properly, and that gives me the ability to check. If one didn't come through, I can see the other. If you have an Apple computer, which I have a personal Apple, do not use Safari. For some reason, Blackboard does not like Safari. Chrome and Firefox are the ones that seem to work best with Blackboard. And then if you're in high school or recently graduated from high school and you're accustomed to using Google Docs with your instructors, that does not work well with Blackboard. It will not. It'll either show up as a blank document, or it will change up the formatting to the point where I can't grade your assignment. So do not share a Google Doc to your assignment link. I believe there is a way to convert a Google Doc to a Microsoft Word format. I'm not as familiar with that because I've not used it personally. The other thing that I'll say is JCC offers you an office suite through your Gmail, and we give you the most updated software that is available, and we give you the latest Microsoft Word programming that you can download into your personal computer. So I think that's the best way to go, and that's sort of what IT has done for you and what Jolt expects you to use in conjunction with Blackboard. Those are the programs that work best with Blackboard to load in. Okay, late work, I don't take it. I just don't, because when I sit down to grade, once I grade that group of papers, I'm done with them. And I'm not going to circle back because someone didn't turn in an assignment. So your sort of lack of planning, or your kind of not turning in an assignment, does not mean I'm going to take time from my family and my obligations outside of this class to circle back and grade it. If there's an extenuating circumstance, and I mean it needs to be pretty serious, let me know, and this would be like a hospital stay or a car accident. Unfortunately, I hope that doesn't happen, but it has to be something very extreme for me to consider any kind of extension. Some kind of emergency on your part or lack of planning because of work schedule, I will not extend, and I'm sorry for that. I've had students come to me and say, I have 3 children and I'm very busy. We're all busy. And I know that seems kind of cold and hard-hearted, but we are all busy. And I have a 90-year-old dad and I have 2 kids, and we're all, not my dad, but my 2 kids are home quarantining with us. And, so we're all busy, and I just, I have a lot of grace and a lot of heart for my students, but just also remember that I have obligations too, and I don't work 24/7. I work a lot, but I need to be able to schedule my grading, so that's why I asked you to turn it in on time. But please let me know if you do have an extenuating circumstance, and we'll try to communicate with each other about that. Communication is key. It's kind of listed down here. Please email me. Request a phone call or a Skype or a Zoom session. If you want to see me face to face, I'll be glad to accommodate that. But if you don't communicate with me, then I have no idea what's going on. So let's try to do that. Okay, going back up here, I think I've almost done everything I set out to do. I don't generally give you a course schedule for the whole 8 weeks because I give you the course deadlines every Monday. And I communicate pretty well about what's coming up. And with course schedules, I feel like some students start concentrating on things they don't need to concentrate on, and they start asking questions or trying to work ahead, and that just doesn't work for this course. So we're only here together for 8 weeks, so we just have to work on a weekly basis. And sometimes I will give you sort of heads up that something's coming up to plan for it. And I don't just throw things at you in a kind of mean way without considering that you need the time to do the assignment. We do only use JCC email, so make sure that you're not using a personal email, and make sure if you are a high school student that you're not using your public school email. I can only respond to JCC emails. And I think that's about it. If after you read through all this and watch this very long video, which I'm so sorry about, please let me know if you do have any questions. I'll be glad to answer them. Thanks for your patience. I was trying to attend to some family things the weekend and Monday, and we had a storm, and it did affect some of my internet connection, and I apologize for that because that's never an excuse, but anything we were trying just wasn't working. So I did come home to Clayton to do the video and to get things straight, and I'm going to try to contact Spectrum at the other house to make sure that it is working better than it was this weekend. So I look forward to working with all of you. I know you guys are going to do great. I'm here to help you. I want you to all succeed, and we'll get everything done successfully together. So I look forward to talking to you later and hopefully meeting you in person in a Zoom session soon. Have a great day, and I'll look forward to reading your introductions.